What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Cheeky Crypto Uncensored. I am JB and I want to talk about a few things we need to keep our eyes on for cryptocurrency this week. I expect this week itself to be a highly volatile week, like many others we do tend to see. Of course, over the course of today, we have seen a bit of a pump for Bitcoin. At the time of recording, around about $69,150. So we have seen that price move on up to the upside. At the weekend, it wasn't looking so promising. We were forming a bit of a symmetrical triangle. Bitcoin, thankfully, breaking out of that bearish structure. So overall, the markets today have been bullish, but we need to keep our eyes on a few very interesting things, and I'm going to cover them in tonight's update. So first of all, I do want to talk a little bit about Memecoins. First of all here, Base, Coinbase's platform. So it took 203 days for Coinbase's Base network to notch the $1 billion in TVL, but then only 25 days to achieve the $2 billion mark. Now that's quite an interesting jump over the course of a few days. And this is largely down to Memecoins. We have obviously covered off Memecoins. I was trying to introduce Memecoins to the channel a bit more, maybe not as well received as I would like to have seen. But we can see here that the TVL for Base has doubled in less than a month to $2.13 billion. And this is largely achieved by the recent surge we have seen for Memecoins. Memecoins, they're fantastically fun when you are on the right side of things, but I do urge caution that you can lose your entire investment with Memecoins. I try to express it as much as I possibly can, but when you are on the right side of these moves, you can make some fantastic gains. Now, Solana, the ecosystem, has arguably been the most profitable for Memecoins, but Base, I do think, has got the potential to be the close second. With the likes of the DGen and the 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗥𝗘 token, Base God, these are two that have got quite an interesting future. Market caps of 143.4 billion for DGen and 65.9 million for 𝗕𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗪. They are very much below the likes of Dogecoin and Shiba Inu, so they still have the growth potential within them. And of course, we can see the ridiculous gains that 𝗕𝗫𝗀𝗃 had, over $2.7 billion in terms of its market cap since its launch back in December. Now, recently we have of course seen the explosion of the book of memes and Slurf, amassing that $2.7 billion market cap this month. So yes, Memecoins, they can be fantastic. And recently I did cover off Brett. I think this may be one of the leaders on the Base chain. We can see the likes of 𝗕𝗪𝗓 and Brian. I'm not going to talk about this one. We can obviously see what Brian Armstrong or Brian Armstrong is all about. Memecoins, they can be fun, guys, but I want to urge caution with these. Getting on the right side of them, getting in nice and early can be very profitable, but I want to stress you can lose your entire investment with these. Always keep an eye though. I like to have a dabble in Memecoins. Our community down in Discord do know I made very good profits on 𝗖𝗢𝗠𝗠𝗘𝗪𝗓. Cannot say that one on YouTube for obvious reasons. The likes of Inspire and Syncus also doing some good returns, so keep your eye on Memecoins, they can be fun. But what is an interesting thing happening is the GBTC outflows are meeting an incredible demand. I covered this over the course of the weekend looking at the ETFs, and we did see consecutive days for the first time of negative flows for those ETFs. This largely down to Grayscale and the GBTC reportedly impacted by moves from the bankrupt crypto lender Genesis. Now, I don't agree fully with this article. I believe that Grayscale are selling off their Bitcoin to move into the next ETF. But we can see, as reported here, that GBTC are retaining their inflows, concluding that the buyers are not selling. Now, make of that as you will. We will go into a little bit of detail a little later in the video, but I do believe we're going to see Grayscale continue to sell off their Bitcoin. I actually seen quite an interesting stat over the weekend. If Grayscale continue to sell at the rate that they have been selling their Bitcoin, they will run out of Bitcoin within the next 90 days. So keep your eyes on the ETFs, which we will look at very shortly. But overall, I do still expect a bullish Bitcoin. We of course know the halving is under 30 days from now. The amount of Bitcoin Bitcoin going to be reduced even further. And I think that is bullish for the ETFs. I think that is bullish for Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market. That supply and demand metric will heavily be outweighed, and I do still expect to see some bullish signs in the charts and in the price action. Now, looking at those ETFs, we can see overall it does still look largely bullish. $11.48 billion since launch, holding over 823,000 Bitcoin, the equivalent of $56.7 billion. The current Bitcoin supply held with the ETFs at 4.19%. This has not moved over the course of the last week. The projected BTC supply absorption, that's a mouthful for a Scotsman, has dropped down to around about 3.49%, but that is natural, as we have seen the past week flows dropping by $700 million. Now, that is negative, 5 consecutive days of negative weekly flows, and this is largely down to Grayscale. We can see that Grayscale now hold 351,805 Bitcoin. And I have been reporting this, guys, as much as I can. We can see here dropping from 616,000 Bitcoin to that 350,000 level. A dramatic drop, a dramatic sell-off of Bitcoin from Grayscale. But in the same time, we can see in grey here, BlackRock accumulating heavily in Bitcoin, as are green, Fidelity. They are the three biggest holdings of Bitcoin in terms of the ETFs. So are BlackRock aiming to be the biggest holders of Bitcoin? We can see they have shot up in size, holding over 242,000 Bitcoin as of recording, just about 100,000 Bitcoin less than what Grayscale are. Now, you can have your own decision as to what Grayscale are up to. My personal belief is they are positioning themselves for the Ethereum ETF, going to be that market leader, you know, first mover advantage and all of the good stuff that they will see from there. Now, Fidelity, we cannot forget about them. Over 135,000 Bitcoin now held with Fidelity. And when we do look at the market share, yes, Grayscale do still have 42.7%. But BlackRock and Fidelity, they are starting to creep up here. With the fees in their ETF much cheaper than that of Grayscale, I do expect to see these two being the market leader for the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And lastly, for tonight, guys, a couple of interesting things that are happening over the course of this week that may have an effect on the price action of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Now, tomorrow we do, of course, have a couple of interesting things, nothing I expect to impact the market, the likes of the growth from knowledge, consumer confidence from Germany, the durable good orders from America, and the consumer confidence from America. I don't expect that to move the market, but I expect that to give us a bit of an outlook as to how the likes of Germany and the United States consumers are in the markets with their day-to-day shopping, the likes of clothes, luxury goods. I think the consumer confidence will give us a good outlook as to how the markets are, how residents are in these countries, and where inflation is currently sitting. Moving on to March 28th, we have a couple of interesting figures coming out. The GDP growth rate from the United Kingdom for Q4 of last year, it is forecasted to be down 0.2%. Now, that's going to be interesting for the United Kingdom going forward. We already know that the UK has officially entered a recession. Understanding where the GDP is currently sitting, going forward, we will understand how long we're likely to be in this recession. The unemployment rates from the likes of Germany, it's going to be interesting also to see where they sit. Then, of course, we do have the GDP for Q4 from the United States, much like the United Kingdom, getting a better outlook as to where they are going forward. Now, yes, the United States have not yet entered a recession, but I do believe within time that that may likely happen. But the big one for the week, guys, is March 29th, something we all have to keep our eyes on. We have the core PCE and the PCE from the United States of America. Now, this is the biggest indicator that the Fed and Fed Chair Powell look at to understand where inflation is sitting. So we can see that the forecast is to remain neutral at 2.8 and 2.4% here respectively. Now, that's going to be hyper interesting going forward, understanding where the PCE is currently sitting. If we see this rise once again, well, that overall is a bearish sign, trying to get that inflation back down to the 2%. But when we see core PCE and the PCE continuing to rise, well, that makes it incredibly hard for inflation to come on down. But the biggest part, of course, will be another speech by Fed Chair Powell. It's going to be Very interesting. Once again, I feel like I've said interesting a lot in tonight's update, but understanding where Fed Chair Powell, where the Fed are currently sitting, I think we have a good idea. They want to get inflation down. I think they want that to happen before the election. I personally believe we will see the Fed pivot before the presidential election over in the States. So this may just be a very critical speech from Fed Chair Powell on Friday. Guys, I do hope you've enjoyed tonight's update. Something a little different. We are trying different things here, seeing what you guys think of it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Now, Chris recently reported on a potential danger for Bitcoin. That video is right here. I do encourage you guys to head on over and check it out.